We got Tales of Toronto, the story of King Mo.
The brazen Friday night shooting at this Jane and Woolsner parking lot in West Toronto has turned deadly. Police confirm 20-year-old Mohammed So died of his injuries in hospital Saturday night. 4 others were injured. So appears to have gone by the name King Mo.
Originally of Guinean background, Mohammed So was born in New York on February 10th, 1999. The So family immigrated to Canada in 2000, first settling in Montreal and
y'all recommended me stuff that I already listened to and I just took it off the stream.
Then Toronto in 2006, where they became active in the city's Guinean community. With no siblings to lean on, Mohammed felt a responsibility to take care of his parents and give back. He would always say, "I'm an only child, and I have to do what's best for my parents." In school, not only was he a student athlete, but Mohammed was known as someone who looked out for others. He took care of kids he barely knew and gave them money to buy freezies, one friend recalled. "Mo made sure I was going to school," said another friend who grew up with him, but did not want to be named. "Mo wanted what was best for me. He was there to make sure I made the right decision. He was more like a mentor and a brother." Although his former classmates have nothing but great things to say about him, Mo was silently going through his own struggles. During middle school, he got involved with the wrong crowd. They tried to frame him for stealing a t-shirt at a Walmart by putting it into his backpack. Mohammed took the blame to avoid angering them. Security footage showed he didn't steal the shirt, but he ended up having to report to police and attend a few days of counseling as a result. The incident didn't break Mo's spirit as he went on to graduate from Runnymede Collegiate Institute in 2017. He was unsure of which career path to pursue, so he began an international relations program at York University, but didn't like it and left, saying he needed more
Canada does have universities. York University.
Time to figure out his future. He worked at Pearson International Airport for a bit, but ultimately decided to pursue a career in music. He formed his own label, called Came From Nothing, and began rapping under the name King Mo.
Put the foot into your face. Make a nigga do the race. I ain't trying to catch a case, but these niggas don't want to play. Yeah, they show me love, but I know that shit be fake. Cause when you making money, most niggas gon' hate. Mama says she want a car, yeah, she needs the latest. Black mask, are you ready to roll? Tell me, nigga, are you bout it? Smart nigga, but I'm heartless. I should've done with a college. Put my name on the phone, yeah.
The label heavily reps 7 Block, which sits on the corner of Jane and Woolner. Living just a few minutes away on Jane and St. Clair Avenue West, Mo often found himself lingering in the once troubled neighborhood.
Results in the gun lifestyle is incarceration or death. I've been a man that I've been shot 3 times. I put in work. I've been around people that put in work. And some of my people that they're not even here today because work got put in on them. I reap
Why you say it like that?
I idolize the gun life. I live the gun life. I get locked up. My son's growing up in the neighborhood. People are telling him stories of what his father did this and his father did that. So my son knew Wagga as his father. My son walked in my footsteps that I left. And because he walked in those footsteps at 19, my son lost his life. Got shot 17 times in a hotel room.
Damn, a hotel room.
When the topic of gangs in Toronto is discussed, the crews often brought up are the Driftwood Crips, Galloway Boys, or even the Jamestown Crips. But within these towers that sit on the corner of Jane and Woolner, homed one of the most violent street gangs in the city that only a few have heard of. The main crew inhabiting the area were the Southside Gators, as well as their subset, the June.
What the fuck? This is a fucking Pee Wee football team. The Southside Gators?
Gators.
Man.
The gang was founded in the early 1990s by predominantly West Indian immigrants. Members would commonly sport some article of green clothing or standard green army fatigues to show affiliation with the crew. Although most members are of West Indian or African descent, members of notorious transnational Hispanic gangs, such as the Latin Kings and MS-13, have been known to frequent the Woolner apartments, suggesting an affiliation. The Gators' aggression towards both the Bloods and the Crips in the west end of the city was evident from conception, with members violently confronting active gang members from both factions within their own neighborhood and later displacing a local Crip set from Martha Eaton Way. What began as a form of protection against roaming neighborhood Blood and Crip gangs quickly turned into...
Is he just talking fast, or am I just not understanding like what he's saying?
Conception, with members violently confronting active gang members from both factions within their own neighborhood and later displacing a local Crip.
Like, is he just using big words just to use them?
Set from Martha Eaton Way. What began as a form of protection against roaming neighborhood Blood and Crip gangs quickly turned into...
Like, bro.
Began as a form of protection against
a form of protection of roaming,
gangs,
like, bro.
Quickly turned into the aggressors.
Do you still have sped it up? Do I? No, it's on normal.
Conflicts, and thus, the Gators gained a reputation as being extremely violent and confrontational.
Confrontational.
The first day of summer starts off with a series of raids.
Crackdown on 5-point generals.
The GTA and in the city's West End. Police announcing this morning they've taken down a large portion of a street gang with international ties. 70 people were arrested after an early morning blitz that involved about 800 officers.
Damn!
The individuals arrested are alleged to be part of the 5-point generals, a gang that is said to operate out of right here at Weston and Lawrence.
In 2008, the Gators were involved in a deadly turf war with several crews along the west end of the city, including the Trethway Gangsta Killers, Pelham Park Bloods, and the Complex Gangsters, but their most infamous feud would be with the notorious 5-point generals. It is reported the rivalry was responsible for 8 homicides that year alone, and those are just the ones confirmed. With the two factions being homed within 10 minutes of one another, the violence would come as no surprise to investigators. The murders started in fall of 2008 when Egg West Crip member Stephen Barton, aka Frost, was shot near York Square. Less than 24 hours later, a drive-by would take place on Highway 401, which ended with a body being dumped from one of the moving vehicles. The slayings
You did a drive-by on the highway? How the fuck does that work?
Drew some police attention as they cited the two incidents were most likely related, but things calmed down and the police chief thought that
imagine you get shot and your homie kick you out the whip.
But it wouldn't be until the start of the new year when bodies would really start.
What is on the ground? Is that dirt?
Dropping. It started in January when Kevin Boating, aka Casa, a suspected Gator, was stabbed outside an old Weston Road home. Jamel Grant, who police believe was a 5-point general member, was shot and killed at a Weston Road bar the next month. After that, Daniel Da Silva, aka Dizzle, a 22-year-old Portuguese man who police say had gotten into drug dealing, was robbed and shot inside his luxury BMW SUV. A 5-point general was arrested for his murder. Then there was Danny Lewis, aka Goon, who was shot and killed off Keel Street. He was Frost's best friend. The gun that killed him was dropped in a dumpster at a youth center where he'd sought help writing a resume earlier in the year. A day later, Omar Waite, a Gator, was gunned down nearby. 10 days after that, Adrian Johnston, a 14-year-old Gator associate, was shot in a field near Woolner Avenue, still wearing his school uniform. The casualties caught the eye of Toronto.
Fuck. Wait, what happened?
Adrian Johnston, a 14-year-old Gator associate, was shot in a field near Woolner Avenue, still.
What do you mean shot in a field?
Wearing his school uniform. The casualties caught the eye of Toronto's chief of police at the time, Bill Blair, who made Weston the new front in his force's war on gangs. The spike was unprecedented, what the chief called unheard of. The deaths made up 1/3 of Toronto's.
What I said. I said it sounded like a Pee-wee football team, the Southside Gators.
Total, and twice the number of nearby Jane and Finch, which often earned the distinction of being the city's violent crime capital. Fast forward to 2011, raids were executed and trial was on its way. A judge sentenced one member to 13 years in prison after police seized from his Egg West apartment 9 weapons, crack cocaine, 2 pit bull dogs, and believe it or not,
The fuck? It's illegal to have pit bulls now? What the fuck? Bro got 13 years for owning 2 dogs.
9 weapons,
Man.
crack cocaine, 2 pit bull
I ain't gonna lie, 9 weapons, crack cocaine. Yeah.
Dog.
They could have threw the book at him, bro.
and believe it or not, a 4-foot alligator, which police
They got a fucking mascot. They got a fucking mascot.
said
Man.
was the club mascot. Many of those
Oh my
arrested-
god, it was. Yo, this shit is unbelievable.
4-foot alligator, which police said was the
They
club
taking that
mascot.
gator shit to
Many
heart.
of those arrested during the raids received similar sentences, while a handful were deported. Since the mass arrests of the Jane and Woolner OGs,
This shit is unbelievable.
youngsters from the block have adopted group names they've heard of, keeping the gang's legacy alive, but with little organization or formality.
Like the Junior Gators, bro. Is that the JV team?
Internal feuds have sparked, causing many of the crews to split. The drug and gang activity within Jane and Woolner slowly dissipated since 2008, when the violence was at its peak, but one horrific night in the summer of 2020, more than a decade later, would leave many questioning if a long-standing gang rivalry was reigniting.
Friday, July 10th, 2020. Middle of the pandemic.
Returning now to the breaking news we're following this hour. 3 people have been injured in a shooting near Jane and St. Clair. For more on this, let's bring in CP24's Beatrice Faisman, who has just arrived there at the scene. Beatrice, police were telling us this is a large crime scene they're investigating.
It is, Courtney. This parking lot area of this strip
These some goofy
mall
ass
has
names.
been shut down by
Yo,
police. You can
they
see
got
one
fucking
officer
mascots.
right now shining his flashlight through the parking lot. He's looking for
What
shells.
if he had cards right there?
Evidence
you just go get it?
to this triple shooting that happened.
What if you gotta go to work?
It was just after 10:20 tonight.
You gotta walk.
Friday, July 10th, 2020, Toronto police were called to a plaza at 251 Woolner Avenue at 8:17 p.m. Police say a dark-colored SUV approached the parking lot and at least one person started indiscriminately shooting at people who were gathered there. Surveillance footage obtained by CTV News Toronto showed multiple people, including a child, ducking behind vehicles to avoid being hit. In total, 5 people were injured. 3 were taken to a hospital by paramedics, and 2 others made their own way to hospital to seek medical treatment. King Mo was one of the many people congregating in the plaza parking lot. The night of the shooting, he told his parents he would be playing basketball with some friends, as he had been doing every Friday during the pandemic. Mo's mother said he would normally drive to the court, but that Friday evening, he didn't. Around 11:45 p.m. that same night, King Mo's friends knocked on his parents' door, distraught, and informed them he'd been shot and taken to the hospital. By the time his parents arrived to the hospital, Mo had succumbed to his injuries. He was the city's 36th murder victim of 2020. The 37th would be Malvern-based rapper Gleesh, who was shot at STC that same night. King Mo's case received immediate attention, but for the wrong reasons. His near-decade-old mugshot from when he was wrongfully accused of shoplifting was used as the identification image for his new story.
At 3 a.m., they asked for photo to put on the news.
The grief-stricken mother of 21-year-old Sidi Mohammed So is still in disbelief that 2 police officers showed up at her door at 3 Sunday morning, just 9 hours after her son died in hospital.
They said it's very important that we give them a picture they're going to put in the news, otherwise they might put a mock shot which we won't like. And I just...
Like, why are we talking about this bullshit when she just lost her fucking son?
Said, like, right now is not a good time. You see my husband, he gonna drop dead. He already on the floor. Can you just please leave?
The family had many photos of their son, but says the time was inappropriate. And while the officers left their business cards, the family did not hear back from anyone the next day.
Local news stations were hit with intense backlash, forcing them to change the image. Fortunately for Mo's family, they received brighter...
It's just bullshit like this that motherfuckers gotta deal with for what?
Forcing them to change the image. Fortunately for Mo's family, they received brighter news a month later, on Friday, August 21st, when members of the Emergency Task Force, 12 division officers and homicide investigators arrested and charged Malik Francis Taylor with first-degree murder.
Ferno, you spazzing. Run on your block like broad day. Ooh, you niggas never seen it. Meet a couple demons.
Malik Francis Taylor, better known by his rap name MK So Alive, ranged from the notorious Pelham Park Gardens, which housed the first blood set in Toronto. With Pelham situated just 10 minutes away from the Southside Gators, it would be no surprise to hear the two factions had their fair share of feuds. The Pelham Park Bloods was a small yet powerful gang that was first known as the Young Thugs. They were formed in the early 90s and consisted mainly of young Caribbean and African Canadian youths. By the early 2000s, most of the members had died, while some had been incarcerated or deported. The last remaining consists of hardcore criminals who have been known to recruit members as young as 8 years old, who are then used in peddling drugs in the suburbs, schools, and even rural areas of Toronto. MK, who throughout his near-decade-long rap career heavily repped the Pelham Park label, even donning red.
What the fuck? Well, I wasn't even paying attention, I'm not gonna lie. Remains is one of the most feared gangs. The gang consists of hardcore criminals who have been involved in many crime activity. Recruit members young, 8, who are used in peddling drugs in the suburbs.
Young as 8 years old, who are then used in peddling drugs in the suburbs, schools, and even rural areas of Toronto. MK, who throughout his near-decade-long rap career heavily repped the Pelham Park label, even donning red bandanas in a few of his videos. Although his bars paint himself as a hardened trapper, he has no prior history of violence or general criminality, and
what the fuck? Why are you trying to expose him like that?
Hardened trapper, he has no prior history of violence or general criminality, and
or he just never got caught.
While their blocks have history dating back decades, there is no known connection between MK and King Mo. It has now been 4 years since that incident, and trial has yet to start, leaving many with unanswered questions. Was King Mo the intended target? Was MK the gunman? Both men not only had talent, but were rising in a small yet niche, underground scene. Do you think some beef can get in the way of that?
Hell yeah. Nice story. Bro, we doing this thing. That'd be good.
The brazen